Alright everyone, I was asked by multiple people to weigh in on the Alex Jones / performance artist thing. I didn't want to do it yesterday. Like, part of me did want to do that, but then I'm like, well, everybody else is talking about it. I'm just going to sit back and wait a day until the air sort of clears, instead of getting all clickbaity and maybe, you know, Jones or somebody else clarifies what was meant. And then I would look like an idiot, like half of these people will, like Salon and so forth. I'll give my opinion of Alex Jones succinctly here, and then I'll talk about his lawyer and the performance art stuff, and Alex Jones' slightly unhinged rant thereafter. And I don't say that as an insult. You'll see what I mean when I give my opinion. First and foremost, to my thoughts of Alex Jones. I'm not a regular listener or watcher of his program, but I have no problem with him. Sometimes he's quite entertaining. He's sometimes informative. I choose to absorb other material instead of InfoWars generally. But when I say, and I have said this like twice in the past on video, when I say he's primarily a businessman, I don't mean that as an insult. A person has to be able to make a living. If he decides to become hyperbolic from time to time and show off a little bit for the camera to drive up more interest because he knows that it's meme-worthy and it gets posted around and gives him more attention, so who cares? That's and that leads right into the second part of this. What was meant by performance artist? It's that. What I think has happened here is that people took his lawyer's statements kind of out of context. When he says performance artist, what he means is that when Alex Jones rips off his shirt and goes tearing through the studio screaming about breaking the conditioning, that's a performance. He's not actually nuts, he's not unhinged, he's not actually convinced that he's become some sort of super demigod against globalism. He's doing that a bit for the cameras, but he actually does care about the issues that he talks about. And I think he does. Businessman aside, which he has to be, he's got a business entity where he spreads his material around and he works with these other people and they use the same InfoWars platform. And it's sort of like a corporate alt media site. It's sort of the missing link between the new wave alternative media, which generally doesn't have really business associations, maybe product placement or AdSense, and that's about all, and the old guard of the media. And so it's sort of this hybrid system. Who cares? Nothing wrong with that. Now, do I think Alex Jones is crazy? No. No. I've said for years now that that's a performance. And that's what I was talking about when I said that I felt that he was essentially, what his lawyer is saying, a performance artist. When he gets all hyperbolic and he gets frothing at the mouth and starts shouting at things, that's for the cameras. That's a performance. But it doesn't mean he doesn't care about the issues. It's called hyperbole. It's like when I talk about the election myself, when I was analyzing the election, and started talking about all the terrible things I thought about Hillary Clinton. Some of that is hyperbole. It's thrown in, it's humorous. People find it funny. You put in a little insult here and there, some hyperbole. It keeps people interested. It's funny. And I go and I watch other people and I expect that in many cases to be there, and I find it funny too. It's not like propaganda. It's not even connected with like memetics. It's just something that's humorous. It's something that's interesting. But do I think he doesn't care about these things and he just wants to sell water filters and he's totally unhinged? No. No, he's a fine person. And no, I don't find him crazy. I think he'd be perfectly capable of taking care of kids. Do you think the Alex Jones that you see when he goes off on some angry rant about globalism is the same Alex Jones that people in his personal life always see? No. No, maybe occasionally he regresses into that mode out of habit, but is he nuts? No, he's not nuts. Nuts don't make millions of dollars running this kind of company. If he was nuts, he wouldn't be succeeding at that. But that doesn't mean that it's not just hyperbole. When people at Salon or something say, oh, Alex Jones is a fake. See, his lawyer said he was a performance artist. That's because they're seeking in court to explain the somewhat irrational-looking behavior that people see on InfoWars. When they watch Alex Jones when he's in front of a camera and he starts pounding his fists and talking about how Obama's going to enslave the world or something, some of that is hyperbole. It's for public interest. It doesn't mean that he's actually irrational and thinks some of the things that he says. He cares about the core issue. He is pushing a line that he happens to support, pro-Trump, anti-globalism, in favor of Second Amendment, in favor of doing away with censorship. All, by the way, perfectly sane positions and ones that generally I believe in. But when he gets to frothing about them, that's an act. It's part of his business model. But it doesn't mean he doesn't care about these things. Hell, why would he support censorship? Look at what he does for a living. You get too much government censorship, InfoWars wouldn't exist. No, it'd be so heavily censored it wouldn't be worth watching. I'd be gone too. Or the Second Amendment. You think he wants someone to fucking break into his house and beat on him without the ability to fight back? You can divorce the sort of persona of a person from their private life. See them as intertwined, but at the same time realize they're not entirely the same thing. The Alex Jones persona is like Alex Jones, the real person, in his private life. But that doesn't mean Alex Jones in his private life, interacting with his kids or whatever, goes off the rails and starts screaming about how the Christmas present they got him has government spyware in it or something like that. It just doesn't make sense. That's the performance art. That's what he throws in. I actually respect him a little bit more because of his car talk there where he's explaining it. And I think that's what he was getting at, but because he was distracted driving and because he's a rant master and he's sort of habituated to ranting like that, he didn't quite say it well enough to pacify people. It looks like a few of his fans think now, based on what his lawyer said, or what they fucking read in Salon or whatever about what his lawyer said, that he's a total charlatan and just a showman freak and doesn't believe any of this stuff. I don't think that. I think at his core, he does believe in the things he talks about. That's my estimation of Alex Jones. I'm not particularly a fan of him, but on this one, I've got to defend him. He's going to trial, I think it's like a custody case, isn't it, for his kids or something? Well, yeah, no shit, he's going to clarify for the court. Yeah, when I go off on these seemingly unhinged rants, I'm perfectly in control. I'm doing it for the cameras. It's how I provide for my kids. I make money doing it. What's wrong with that? Throw some hyperbole and make it interesting. That's how the internet works. That's how things go viral. It's how they get shared around a lot. If he were to just sit there very calmly, never raise his voice, never sprinkle in a couple of insults, never drop a swear word here and there or something like that, who'd want to watch it? It'd be so fucking boring. They'd just be watching CNN. They'd be watching lamestream media. If he were to do that, it'd be no different. He'd be like Fox or MSNBC. Any other interchangeable pundit. The fact that he's more interesting to watch is the entire goal. At the same time, and here's the other thing, if you believe in these things and you don't use a little bit of hyperbole, a little bit of sarcasm, insult, maybe some grave humor, something interesting being thrown in, if you don't, then you never get to push your political or your social line, do you? Because your audience is so much smaller. You're not going to succeed. You're not exciting. You're not fun to listen to. That's the problem you have with lamestream media. They're so censored and they're so regulated. They regulate themselves. They're regulated by their CEOs. They're regulated by parent companies. They're regulated by the FCC. They can't be interesting. You totally tone out. When you watch them, you zone out like a zombie. When you're watching InfoWars, you're probably saying, wow, I wonder if Alex Jones will rant today. But at the same time, he's pulled you in with that, and now he can red pill you. Yeah, perfectly sane business strategy, perfectly sane political model. Trump did this during the election. People think he's unhinged too. Is he? No. People don't build billion-dollar businesses, become the president of the United States because they lack all tact and they're just shooting from the hip. People don't build multi-million-dollar industries like InfoWars by being dumbasses. I actually respect him a little bit more after this, to tell the truth. And yeah, there will be people say, oh, I was an Alex Jones fan, and then, but now I know he's just a fake, so I stopped listening to him. Well, again, that specific hyperbole that's being judged as performance art for the purposes of a legal case is probably why you started watching him in the first place. So I'm going to call bullshit on a good 9 out of 10 of you. You don't have to be an Alex Jones fan to see the differentiation between what he and his lawyer are saying with regards to the case to show, yeah, I'm not a nut. I actually know what I'm doing here. It's part of my business model. To show the difference between that and what people at Salon are saying he said, which is, oh yeah, I'm just a dumbass who sits here and mouths off. I don't believe in any of this shit. It's not what he's saying. Only Alex Jones, because he tends to rant and sometimes get hot under the collar, I think in a more real sense, he didn't quite explain it as well as he could have. Link in the description, of course, to his explanations from like a right-wing news watch. One of the clips of this, which actually, I'm subscribed to them because sometimes they talk about like Glenn Beck and fucking evangelicals like megachurch pastors, Pat Robertson, all these eggheads up there, which I don't like. They are the real fakers. Alex Jones probably believes in most of what he says. Not necessarily the hyperbole, layer after layer of stuff for interest. But does he actually oppose globalism? Well, look at his business model. Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, globalism probably at the very least hurts his fiscal bottom line. Of course he's going to fight against them. So I have no problem with this. His explanation actually makes more sense than most of what he says on his show. So you're not going to hear any complaints about Alex Jones from me for saying these things. It's sensible. It's sane. So what? Is Alex... Let me ask the people at Salon. Are you saying that the last, like, decade worth of reporting that you did on Alex Jones, branding him as a lunatic, is totally wrong too? That you apologize and take that all back because now you say, oh, well, he's just into performance arts? Of course they won't. Because they know that's not what he actually meant. That's about all. Peace out.